Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And on Sunday, we had yet another event happen. Now, of course, I take Sundays off, so I didn't cover any news until today. So, USA Today, another object shot down over Lake Huron in Michigan. The U.S. military shot down an unidentified flying object over Michigan Sunday, the third in 3 days and fourth since downing a Chinese spy balloon off the coast of South Carolina February the 4th. Sunday's shoot-down occurred hours after airspace had been temporarily closed over Lake Michigan by the FAA and NORAD. Fighter jets had scrambled to investigate a radar finding there, but did not find an object, according to the U.S. official who was not authorized to comment. Well, how about it? You still got your comment. An F16 shot down the object at 2:42 Eastern Time Sunday at the direction of President Joe Biden. I love how they have to inject Joe Biden in here, almost like an afterthought, like, oh, we better insert Joe Biden here just to have the attention and draw this attention to him. According to Air Force Brigadier General Pat Ryder, the Pentagon's press secretary, the pilot fired an AIM-9X Sidewinder missile, the same weapon used in the previous instances. So, ladies and gentlemen, according to the additional information here, the object had been flying at about 20,000 feet over Lake Huron in a path and altitude that raised concerns about it being a hazard to civilian aviation. So we have yet another incident, yet another craft flying into our airspace. Ladies and gentlemen, it should come as no surprise, as we know from the Y86 Matthew, who talked about this on his channel, as well as on the China Fact Chasers, which I encourage you guys to check out. You see here, a test using high-altitude balloon to launch the flight vehicle has been successfully performed. Allegedly, this was exactly the test which closed a large area of airspace in the northwest of China, which is interesting. So they closed the airspace to do the test, or this was launched by the military and another military agency didn't know that was happening because a majority of the airspace there in China is dedicated or is closed off because of military reasons. But this is back in 2018. Now, as I understand it, the project goes back even further, maybe back to 2014, I believe some of these individuals are saying. Now, I heard John Kirby say today on Monday, as of this recording, it is February the 13th, and he was mentioning that the vehicle that was shot down was powered by wind, I believe is the way he described it. And as we can see here, these vehicles look like they're kind of sort of like a glider type, or these are prototypes perhaps of gliders, or perhaps drones that they can put into production. You can see various configurations of the different aircraft and what was used, but I found it very interesting that these can be dropped from balloons. We don't know exactly what these objects are that were flying over Lake Huron, or other additional objects, for example, that were flying over Alaska that was shot down as well. We covered that in a video as well. So thank you guys for the likes and the support, because some of these videos have been put into limited status, or stasis. So I want to thank you guys for your continued support there. And as no surprise, ladies and gentlemen, from NBC News, China says U.S. balloons flew over its airspace more than 10 times, and I find that absolutely remarkable, considering that when Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan, they were so outraged, they threw such a tantrum that they surrounded the island with live fire drills for several days. They were so outraged, stamping their feet, screaming in the aisles like a small child at a grocery store whose mother didn't get them something or didn't recognize something that they would have wanted. And this is the way they behave. So I know that may sound like a bit of an exaggeration or sensationalizing, but ladies and gentlemen, let me just say that the CCP does, the best way to describe the CCP is like a screaming child throwing a tantrum until they get what they want. It's absolutely, it's a cultural thing. So they don't recognize it as them looking like a child at all. They perceive it as them looking as being victimized by someone. Beijing also said it had no information on 3 more unidentified high-altitude objects that have been shot down over North America since the U.S. military downed a Chinese surveillance balloon. Now, we'll just have to take them for their word on that, but of course their word is not all that reliable, considering what we saw them say during the pandemic to the World Health Organization. Hong Kong, China said Monday that high-altitude balloons belonging to the United States had flown over its airspace without permission more than 10 times since early last year. I just find that so difficult to believe. The Chinese would be so outraged. They would be absolutely throwing a tantrum if the United States even got within its territorial waters. they would be upset, because we've already seen they've taken over parts of the South China Sea, built these land islands, they've dredged up the bottom of the ocean and built these islands and put bases on them. And when the United States just flies over them because they are, international waters, the Chinese have a complete fit over it. You guys may have seen some of the videos that were going around years ago of the U.S. aircrafts flying into those areas and the Chinese just having a complete fit over it. It is nothing rare for U.S. balloons to illegally enter our country's airspace, Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Wang Wenbin said at a regular news briefing. That's not to be confused with a irregular news briefing, apparently. The U.S. should first reflect upon itself and change course instead of smearing our country. So see, they always turn everything down. So they just use projection. They just turn everything around and make everything else about everyone else being the bad guy. Wang did not provide further details about the alleged incursions or say whether the balloons appeared to be military in nature or used for spying purposes. So they don't even describe what the balloons that they're accusing the United States of using, they don't even say what they were for. Maybe their own testing, maybe their own testing to see if their military is aware that their own other side of the military, the PLA, are able to do these or conduct these without the other aspect of the PLA recognizing it. I don't know. He said China reserves the right to use any necessary means to deal with such situations. I believe that. I absolutely believe that statement. And so that's why I wonder if it actually happened, because we never saw any responses from China. We see them constantly giving Taiwan a hard time and incursions into Taiwan, but I never saw that. U.S. officials were not immediately available for comment. They asked the same thing of Kirby, and Kirby directed all the reporters to the Department of Defense. And we see here, breaking: White House announces interagency team to address unidentified aerial objects. So I guess they're making a whole new team of individuals to work with this, but they're not telling the American people anything about these craft. We don't know anything about them, whether they're something similar to what Matthew said here, because they said they were the size of a small vehicle. So that would look like maybe the size of a small vehicle, a very small one. Or a car, right? A compact car or whatever. But these are pretty small. Well, they're small in the image, but it's hard to say what size they are considering the cage that it's being carried in here, the gondola. And then, of course, we know that the balloon that flew over the United States was gigantic. I mean, this could be the size of a large air conditioner on top of a building. And then these are nearly the size of that. So that gives you kind of some level of perspective on what's going on. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to know your thoughts and comments. Or I'd like to know your thoughts down in the comments about what you think is going on. Is this some sort of distraction for the Biden administration? What is China trying to do? Are they trying to pull us into something? Does this have anything to do with what's going on in Ukraine and with Russia? What all could be potentially going on? There is so much here to work with, so much to talk about and even speculate about. And I will, of course, continue to keep you guys up to date on all this information. So your support is always appreciated, as many of these videos have been set to limited status. So your guys liking, sharing, and commenting has been huge for the channel. Thank you so very much for helping us out here with that. And that's what I have for you guys on this Monday, February the 13th. And, of course, appearing there on the screen will be the channel icon. You guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel as we keep up with this information. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.